Welcome this morning, this day, whenever you're listening in to day 11. Oh, this is when it gets real. This is when folks will start to fall off because we often enter into many challenges, many processes with the idea of rah, rah, rah. So imagine those of you who are saying you want to lead women, you want to empower women, you want to do this for women. But guess what? When it comes to being led by Spirit, available to Spirit, something is required of thee. Would you still say yes? I am La Tonia Taylor, affectionately known as the RevCoach, the Juicy Spirit Mama, or Mama Juicy, as some of them are calling me, the priestess of purpose, pleasure, and passion for those of you who are here for the first time. And I am honored to hold this space of Paradigm Shift 48, day 11. Thank you all who have chosen to join me just because something in your life is calling you to be more expansive and to live in discipline, not discipline, because the brain already has a little bit of reaction to discipline. This is really not just about discipline, although spiritual discipline is very key to the way you lead, when you secure the bag, how you carry the bag. So congratulations to each of you who are on the call this morning. I'm telling you, this will be the point where a lot of people will give up. Some people will jump back in about halfway in and say, oh, I gave up, and then there's a whole conversation and prayer around that. Just resolve to win. Just resolve to be present. Just resolve that I'm doing this. What will happen is, and I've already noticed it for myself, there was a time when my body woke me up every morning for the years of praying at 5 a.m. with my prayer partners, my sisters. My body was programmed for years after that to be up. And for those of you who aren't up and early enough, you may have made an adjustment. I'm going to tell you, the people who are still scurrying are those who are trying to fit this into their life rather than shift their life to make sure that prayer is a part of it or a morning routine. And that's why Pastor Nika was motivated to do the soul detox, and that's why I knew, because both of us have expansions in our assignment, and something else is required of thee. And so this morning, I don't want to tarry too much on that. Maybe I'll do a little live or something in our group, because today we are focusing on mothers and daughters. We are saying yesterday we focused on mothers, just praying for mothers and the various layers of motherhood and how that shows up in celebrating mothers and praying for their resources to continue to be, do, and have what it is that sometimes mothers sacrifice. However, the mother and daughter relationship is truly when we talk about shifting paradigms, it definitely is a point of power or a point of powerlessness, depending on how motherhood was modeled for daughters and how the daughter decides to continue to play the game the same way that her mother played it, or to play a new game. Because remember, these prayers are prayers for game changers, or those who are feeling called to change the game. And so I want to start with something that struck me in my core. In fact, I'm probably going to do a special. If you're interested, just inbox me and let me know. I'm probably going to do, as soon as we get a little bit more settled in the rites of passage process, just a special workshop on this, because this struck me in my spirit this morning when Dr. Christian Northrup says life is a series of wounds. It's the inner blueprint for creation and growth. Now, I know this, but every time I experience a cosmic truth, at different levels of my own awareness, it resonates. And she goes on to say, a woman's heroic journey always begins in partnership with her mother, the woman from whom she takes the imprint of what it means to be a woman. Her journey picks up speed when she leaves the comfort of the womb and goes through the process of birth. From then on, she must travel through a series of developmental stages that can be likened to a series of wombs. Come on now. And what's so powerful, of course, is that this is ReBirth International, and it absolutely describes the work that many of you choose to do. And let me tell you, this work around the mother womb and the wound, or celebrating your mother, because some daughters are absolutely able to celebrate being the replica of their mother. Some daughters are able to celebrate being somewhat of a replica, but one who has carved her own way, and both the mother and the daughter have a mutual respect because of the principles that the mother can see reflecting back to them in the eyes of their replica, their offspring. Because the mother and daughter is simply, oh goodness, I don't want to get too deep because, yeah, I'm going to have to do the workshop for that because just considering time. But on this journey, I want you to hear this, sisters and brothers, because men oftentimes don't understand what they're partnering with when they get a woman who, depending on her relationship with her mother, will depend on her relationship with herself. And every man should pay attention to the woman's relationship with her mother, because it will tell you a lot, and it will also open a lot of conversation, possibly where you can be of support rather than being a critic or contributing to the trauma, the story, or recycling the same behaviors. Because even if you had a stellar relationship with your mother, all of us as individuals have places where we don't need to recycle or replicate the same game in our families, the same game in our mind, our body, our spirit, and in the world. But listen to this, is that on this journey, mothers and daughters are in partnership from the very beginning. The circumstances of a mother's conception, pregnancy, labor, and birth with her daughter form the original imprint that her daughter encodes about what to expect as she moves from one room to the next on her life's journey. Yet, it is the baby who initiates labor and the mother whose body must relax into the process. That right there, boo me. Let me pause right there and just tell me what the Holy Spirit has been working with me on all last night. Really, I want you to hear this. That imprint that Dr. Christiane Northrup talks about shows up in how you process the opportunity to shift. Some of you are recycling your victim story in covert ways, the ways that you are able to receive help and support, ask for help and support, and let me go back to receive. What do I mean? First of all, the asking. Because oftentimes, if there is a mother who always intervened, who always bailed you out, was your go-to person, most of the time you don't have the muscle. Yes, you may have been spoiled and well taken care of, but when you don't have the muscle to meet the challenges and obstacles in the world, sometimes it will show up like a tantrum of a spoiled brat, or if your mother dies, you don't have the skills to now navigate the world. But the responsibility of the mother to her daughter is to equip her. And oftentimes, old Southern mothers who've had to survive in the Jim Crow South have gone too far with teaching their daughters how to survive versus how to thrive, how to live a life. I could go on and channel my inner rapper Yet, on the other hand, when the trauma exists at the level of mother, many of you have a hole in your heart the size of your mother, and you fight every woman that you are attracted to get support, to get good counsel, to get tools and such. Ask me how I know. I talk about it in my book. I teach it in my sacred processes and journeys, particularly the rites of passage. This subject cannot be secured, shifted fully in 15 minutes in a prayer call. It can be shifted in the work that you do after the prayer call, the actions that you take after the prayer call. A lot of times your mind will tell you, because the imprint is where? The imprint is on your soul and your mind. Your mental health shows up through this imprint with mothers and daughters. Sometimes, in the quotes that I found, there was just the quote that I posted today was just so beautiful. It was no question that this was the one, and I feel this about my own mother. My mother wanted me to be her wings, to fly as she never quite had the courage to do. I love her for that. I love the fact that she wanted to give birth to her own wings. I know, and I can pray this prayer because I had to get in the prostate position when the pain was so wretched on the inside of the breakdown between me and my mother, because she didn't have the answers. So I had to take it to the cosmic power and pray the prayers that said, create in me a clean heart, renew in me a right spirit. So I can say this, that God, let me have a moment to celebrate the fact that I'm my mother's wings. My daddy used to call me Lady Bird. I was thinking about that yesterday. I was thinking about that as we approach Father's Day. I always used to, why did Daddy pick that name? And now I have this relationship with winged things. But let me tell you where I want you to think about it. It says, yet the baby is the one who initiates labor. That right there blew me. Let me tell you why. Because some of you are still waiting for your mother to change or for the answers to come. But the baby initiates labor. Some of you still have a baby relationship to your mother and not the game-changing, paradigm-shifting responsibility that she prayed for, that the womb that she came. A life is a series of wombs. So even if your mother wasn't a praying woman, even if your mother was cracked out, drugged out, pimped out, hoed out, whatever the case may be, or maybe she just was a cantankerous spirit who didn't support you, or maybe she was overgiving and gave to everybody else, or maybe she just showed you how to survive and never told you that she loved you and was affectionate. Whatever the case may be, baby, you are the one. You are the one that can shift the paradigm. I'm talking to your soul today. I'm talking to your spirit today. Why? Because this is not something that I read about and came and tried to teach about. This is a process of years of doing work, of asking questions, of reading, of being given assignments, of finding the money. When my heart hurt enough and I knew I needed to get out of situations, I found the resources to get the therapy, get the counseling, get the coaching, and sometimes all three at one time. When I went through my process of the myomectomy, because I am who I am, a spiritual intuitive, every time, and I talk about this in my book, please get my book. If you can't afford coaching, the Lord knows you can afford $20. You're not going to do a love offering. Get a tool. A book is a tool. Because this is pivotal. This was pivotal for me. And every time the doctor would go in and do a procedure, I'd get a download. Then that download would minister to me to the next procedure. And then the next procedure, another download. Never being declared infertile. Never having an obstacle to pregnancy. Yet, in the process, my womb spoke to me. And that is what rebirthed my juicy, the feminine. But you cannot talk about feminine power, sexual power, and money manifestation when you have a breakdown with the mother. Now, there are some who have stories that they have flipped the script and they have reversed the game in their consciousness to go to secure the bag. But I guarantee you, after a woman has secured the bag, the money will present her with options to work on herself or continue to build her empire. And her empire will look like the dysfunction of the imprint. She will have the money, but she will also have the pathology. She will have the fame or the recognition, as some of you all aspire to be like some of these, but there's so much here in this paradigm shift. Oh, yeah, we shifting paradigms here. We're getting into the game. The more specific you get in anything that you are conjuring, anything that you are calling forth, anything that you are shifting, then guess what? Your prayers can be more specific. Your requests can be more specific. But oftentimes the resistance, the reluctance, the hesitation began right here because your mother has not been your shero and you haven't been hers. Or sometimes she has been your only shero and you haven't evidenced it out in the world because the mother is present in everything, especially for those who were born female. And you can grow up all you want saying, I do not want to be like her. You can set your life up, but you will meet her one day in the mirror. Whether you look like her, sound like her, your anger is like hers, or your attitude is like hers, and it takes somebody, the world, to give you feedback. You can move in distance and proximity, but you cannot move from your DNA. You can shift it, and that is the paradigm shift. This is such a powerful place because mothers of daughters, I want to tell you, those of you who are mothers of daughters, the work you do, because if you are a mother of a daughter and your mother was a mother of a daughter and so on and so forth, your daughters are not looking for your perfection. They're looking for your truth. Now, some of our mothers were just not able to compute, calculate, and then articulate the truth. They just didn't know how to do it. Especially if your mothers grew up in the Jim Crow South where there was atrocities happening that they just could not talk about. I was watching the Red Table Talk of women. It was 3 generations, of course. It was Will, Jada, her mother, our Lord Will, Jada, her mother, and her daughter. And this was a conversation between Rachel Cagle, another white woman, and a Latina. And they were talking about the relationship of race. And the question that white women oftentimes ask, and I'm going to tell you why I'm making this point really quickly, is, I've been through trauma. I didn't have it easy, or whatever the case may be. And it was the white woman who actually responded. And Rachel, of course, chimed in. She's a millennial that doesn't hold her tongue. And she said, but after your trauma, you still woke up white, meaning privileged, and the world responded to you another way. And she said that she gives her students an assignment, or people who take her workshop an assignment. And she gives them the assignment, the white women in the room who are trying to understand their insensitivities. She gives them an assignment to ask them, what if you woke up black? What feelings and emotions, and a lot of the emotions and feelings people said were scared, afraid, unsure, unsafe. These are the feelings that people said they would feel. And she said, well, can you imagine what black women wake up to every day? Now, I say that to say, because there is a post-traumatic slavery disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder that is also in melanated women, including our brown sisters, in our genetics as well. And part of the relationship with mother is also a cosmic one. And the cosmic mother, melanated woman, has been so dishonored on the planet that some of us are also on top of that, or waking up every day. And now it's not even conscious, it's just normal. It's become a normal. And the truth be told, there are places that we move in the world that we don't feel as secure or secured in the company, because our DNA still holds even that memory. Sometimes on this journey, we are moving through layers. We call it depression, we call it laziness, or different things that show up as to why sometimes we can't sustain our work. But there's much more going on. And as ancient women, we have always held one another's hands through the layers, through the different classrooms of our womanhood. We have always had more than one mother. We have always been communal. And so the very idea of you trying to do it alone and just replicate what you see is a mental health issue. And that's why we have so many different tribes and sister circles sometimes that are toxic in nature or triggering in nature, when people play favorites and they acknowledge one but they don't acknowledge others, but yet you pay, or they want you to pay, and then they'll acknowledge. And so there's only pay to play, and then, or when there's a breakdown between women with other women, you don't know how to handle it, and it usually has nothing to do with the woman. It is just that the other woman is the trigger for what is going on in your very blueprint. Can you change your blueprint? Absolutely. Yes, I'm taking a little time here because it's important that when we pray, that you pray into the blueprint. Speak to the blueprint. When you are talking about shifting paradigms, you sometimes are going to have to surrender your attitude about trusting. Surrender your inability to take instruction, or to place the blame on authority, to see if this process is going to work, because you're still trying to get points with God. You still have a do-have relationship. If I do this, then I'll have that. No, you're doing this because you already have it, but the beingness is the most important for those of you who are called to the spiritual journey. Everybody's not called to the spiritual acquisition first, but those who are, those are the ones who will change the game in their families, change the game right where you are. You keep looking for your assignment to be out there. Your assignment is right where you are, starting with your own heart. And then there are mothers and daughters that we get to learn from who have healthy relationships. And if you think about the ones who have pretty good relationships with their mother, their womanhood shows up a little different. Their sisterhood shows up a little different. It's not undercompensating or overcompensating. It's a balance. And we honor those women here too. And some of you have shifted it. I know that I have, and I continue to shift it, still with the eyes to see. I have to be very careful, because even knowing that if I'm not careful, even my mother's doubt while she's alive will be a seed in me, and I have to sometimes cancel it even while I'm relating to her. Limit it. With love now. I used to do it a different way. I've had to learn how to have boundaries without being binded. I've had to learn how to honor myself without dishonoring her and her journey and her story. And give thanks that it's not just pain that's my teacher. Some of you, the only way you will willingly take the next level step for support, for coaching, for investments, is the pain. Pain has been your teacher more sometimes than your mother. The pain from your mother was the beginning of the decisions and choices that you made with your heart, with your money, with men, with sex, with pregnancies, with child rearing and raising and parenting, with you, how you stay in or how you jump out, how you fight, how you flee, how you run, how you stay, how you hide, how you don't use your voice. You cannot make excuses for her and shift the paradigm either. And that applies to whether your reference point is happy or whether it is still seeking wholeness. Let's say it that way. So, let us affirm our success even at this point, this primordial point. Today, from this moment on, I determine to succeed only in those things which are worthy, beneficial, and provide the greatest good. I let go of all ideas and concepts in my blueprint, which are contrary to the good life I desire to live, whether it be in relationship to my health, those about me, or my affairs. I establish now in my mind ideas embodying the way I desire things to be. I establish in my mind ideas about the way I want others to respond to me or to my leadership or to my invitations to change and to growth. I consistently maintain these ideas and let nothing sway my conviction that they represent my experience as it is to become. I am becoming. I honor the place of my becoming. I am rightly guided in establishing and maintaining the patterns of thought that correspond to the nature of God, Goddess, all that is, which is good. I refuse to let myself be influenced by negative conditions and situations. I know that the creative action of the law of mind manifests in tangible form as the content of my thought. Today, I bring my thoughts to the altar. I present my thoughts as a living sacrifice. I speak to my own blood, declaring and decree my paradigm shift. As I establish in my mind a pattern of thinking that only accepts good as my experience, this is what comes into being. I declare and decree overrides in the blueprint of all lack consciousness, fear of healthy relationships, or opening my heart. I decree and declare that I am safe to open, to be guided, to be mothered by my life, by the universe, and by resource support. I now succeed only in these things which are good. I surrender my attachment to the pain body. I surrender my attachment to pain as my leader. I surrender the attachment to my mother's pain as my leader. I surrender the attachment to expectations of my mother, and I create my own. I surrender all judgments, fears, and condemnations of my mother because I know that they are condemnations of myself. I clean the slate today, asking first in prayer and then in action for the resources to be provided from the source. Now take a few breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. This time, consciously breathe deep into your womb. Slowly releasing. In this still place, we connect with the great cosmic mother. We connect with the great cosmic womb. We thank you for this cosmic womb, for this cosmic mother. We thank you for the earth being modeled even after the womb and the mother. We thank you that the resources are abundant in the mother. We thank you for the ways that the mother and the daughter relationship is amplified for healing, for excellence, and for abundance and prosperity. We lift the generational line from the place that it has existed, and we give thanks that we are the ones that are well able to be the shift, not through us preaching or telling, but through us sharing through our own shifts, through our own model. We thank you for those mothers and daughters who are sharing this space together, who have chosen to shift together. We thank you for one or the other being the one. We thank you for the mothers in this space who are going first so that they can create a new model, a new blueprint for their daughters. We thank you, Holy Spirit, for those mothers who have been assigned to us through other people. We thank you for the mothers in the tribe, even in our own bloodline, the aunties, the godmothers, the big cousins, the friends of the family who have been healthy. We thank you for coaches, counselors, therapists, and ministers who have mothered us. We surrender all judgments and unfair expectations of them that have been transferred from the blueprint of our unmet needs and our unmet expectations and low expectations of having our needs met. We surrender that today. Today, we raise the bar of our expectations such that we become our own shero, and that we are willing to be consistent, courageous, coachable, teachable, and trainable no matter our age. That we are willing to be daughtered, mothered, and sometimes we are willing to be the mother and the daughter to ourselves and to another woman. We ask for grace and mercy in all of our relationships as it relates to women to women. We ask that we call into our memory here in this present time, the ancient memory of who we were in the Queen's Court and the feminine leadership that we have inside of us to manifest our vision, our goals, and our desires, that we do not have to exhaust our adrenals, that we can stand in our power without standing like a man. And we thank you for the men in this circle who have honored and held space for women and their relationship with their mothers. We thank you, Holy Spirit, right here and right now for every woman who is operating in her conscious awareness to stay the course, to create a new blueprint, to live a new blueprint, and to share a new blueprint. We thank you for the prosperity that is attached to this paradigm shift. We thank you for the healing that is attached to this paradigm shift. We thank the universal power that is operating in our presence right here, right now, for being able to be a container for the change that we desire to see. We thank you for new content, for updated software, and for reconfigured hard drives. We surrender our stubbornness, our positions, and our need to be right about being a victim. Today we declare victory, even as we get in position to receive the evidence. We thank you that it doesn't have to take a lot of time, but it does have to take a lot of commitment, choice. And so we thank you that we are making this choice today in this space. Now, we move out of the way so that we can let it be so. And so it is. Now let the words that I have sent forth from my mouth not return to me void. Let them accomplish that which I have sent them forth to do on behalf of my sisters and myself, my brothers as well. Let it return to us with grace and mercy like a gentle kiss and a reminder, like a sweet wind, that it is safe to be a mother, and it is safe to be a daughter, and it is safe to be ourselves. Just take a breath. I encourage you today to journal in your own private time. I do encourage you today to get resource support. Of course, I am here for that. This is a specialty area for me in the work that I do in feminine leadership and feminine soul retrieval. And I'm so proud and honored to be doing it. And I know that the women who have truly worked with me and rolled up their sleeves don't look like what they've been through. And neither does their relationship with their mother. And such that mothers are paying attention and shifting. Therefore, you are creating paradigm shifts 7 generations forward and 7 generations behind us. I give thanks this morning to the ancestors, to my divine committee. I have a team of women who stand with me every time I stand up in this ministry, and I give honor to that team of my divine cosmic committee today. Mafarifun to the Egun, and I thank you to the ancestors, and I give thanks for those of you who are aware of your ancestors. You may not know who prayed for you, but honey, all you got to do is go find that old gospel song that talks about how I had, Shirley Caesar said I had a praying grandmother. I did too. Those prayers are effervescent. They're in the atmosphere. I encourage you to latch on to them so that you can show up and show out. I love you all. There's nothing you can do about it. Now love yourselves and show up. Go grab somebody that said they were coming here to this space with you. Don't leave no sister behind, leave no man behind. I'll see you all on the other side. Ciao.